Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma. I'm flying solo to preview this week's matchup, week 6 already in the NFL. Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Las Vegas to face the Raiders, and sometimes I feel like an old timer here. Want to call them Oakland. It was Oakland and LA during my lifetime, and then Oakland and now Vegas. And wow, let me tell you, I never thought there would be a time where I would get confused like that. Sometimes still calling the Chargers San Diego just a couple of weeks ago. Steelers get to play indoors again. This is their 6th game, half of them being played in a dome. Very, very interesting start to the season. Atlanta, Indianapolis, and now Vegas, and more than likely, lots of Steelers fans in attendance for this one too. I want to give a shout out real quick to someone I didn't get to meet him in Atlanta. My cousin did, but he came and hung out with us last weekend. Tio, he's from Louisville, Kentucky, there with his significant other, Tanya. They gave me this shirt, a shout out to you, Tio, because this is the topic of the day. They ain't like us, okay? Raiders are a lot like the Steelers right now, unfortunately, Tio. If you have a chance, if you're down, Steelers Nation truly worldwide. If you're in Louisville, Kentucky area, go check out Tio. He's a barber, has his own shop. Really great dude. But thank you for the shirt again, Tio. They ain't like us. No, the Raiders are very much, even though 2-3 and the Steelers at 3-2. Steelers losing 2 games each of the last 2 games by only a field goal, 3 points differential. And there's all kinds of chaos going on when it comes to this game that I can't even do the topics bar, wherever I'm weathermanning here. It's on that side usually. Why is that? I'm just going to be bobbleheading around here trying to figure out the injury report. That's where I'm going to start at first. Don't have the Raiders injuries in just yet for Thursday practice. Was hanging out here. Of course, the time difference, West Coast to East Coast, where I'm on the East Coast, trying to get the information. They haven't gotten their practice and all the full participation in. But the Steelers, the big news of the week is Russell Wilson, full participant in practice, not only Wednesday, but also Thursday. He looks to be a go, folks. Now the question is, and it hasn't been announced yet, and we would probably surmise that throwing Russell out there might be some Russell Wilson. I hope not. Could that be risky against this Raiders team? And I'm going to go through that. It could be another Justin Fields start, but what if it's a slow start? Will Russell be the backup? Is this the scenario that you want to do this in? Because if you go to Pittsburgh and Fields has a slow start and they don't get things going right away as they would like, Boo Birds come out, and it's not a confidence builder for any of the players. But then again, if Wilson comes out and stinks it up too, they're immediately going to be looking at Fields, who's the backup. And let's not forget, Kyle Allen came into this game, and Fields gets knocked out almost on Sunday night. He's out for a play or two. Kyle Allen comes in, converts a first down. That's great, but we're starting to get a little on thin ice with whether or not this is Justin Fields' team. I have not really taken much issue with Justin Fields to a fault, okay? He's been slow to start. You would like to see him diagnose and be a little quicker. The first half against the Cowboys was not where it needed to be. You got a patchwork offensive line. You're not capable of running the football the way that you want, which is how Arthur Smith's teams are built. And if you can't threaten people with running the football and also connecting on some of these deep passes, overthrew Darnell Washington, who's like 8 feet tall. I kid. Connor Hayward, who's not 8 foot tall, but leaned out for it. Just a game of inches. We saw this. Cowboys stopped on a half-yard line too. Defense, injuries, getting beat up, getting gassed. I don't want to make excuses in what was a team loss. I didn't feel like this was all on Fields. There's so many people that, I saw a question on one of these Facebook groups, and they said, it was asked, how many times or how many coaches would the Pittsburgh Steelers have if ownership, Art Rooney II, previously Dan Rooney, and the Chief, Rooney family. What if they listened to the fans? You just fired a coach after every loss, basically. You'd have 17 coaches. You might even get one during the bye week. So a little bit of patience. You're not going to win them all in the games that the Steelers have been able to come away with. I thought Fields looked impressive against the Chargers. I thought he looked pretty good against the Colts, at least into the third quarter, but that's what it is. It's got to get going a little faster. I think if he forces it and he doesn't just naturally warm up in this way, he's going to find himself on the sideline. Now, oddly enough, the questions are coming out. Everybody's asking Fields stuff. Everyone's asking Russell Wilson stuff. And they're just going, they're playing this like pros. Nobody's tipping their hat, showing their hand, anything as to what is going to go on Sunday. And the Raiders have to basically prepare for Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. And I even think if Russell Wilson does play, there's going to still be some stuff for Fields. There's just some things he could do with the ball. Maybe he still needs just a little bit more time to cook in the oven. I mean, I'm telling you, like, there's some games where it's just like, man, this dude's on, the accuracy. And then there's just that first half against the Cowboys was just a little all over it. Then he leads they go down after the Joey Porter interception, and they go ahead. He leads a go-ahead score. And it was like pulling teeth in short yardage situations, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, but they still got the job done. I know there's so many people that are like, oh, Mike Tomlin, he just plays down. Look, the Cowboys have like the highest paid quarterback in the NFL for a reason. This is a guy, Dak Prescott, that I said should have won the MVP last year. He put up the numbers. He puts up the yards, puts up the touchdowns. Turn the ball over enough. It is upsetting. It is disappointing. I understand fans get frustrated, but don't go burning jerseys and breaking TVs. It's one game. I think this is how this young team learns and grows. There's a lot of young players playing, and Russell Wilson at the top of this is not a young player. He's going to need time still to heal. I don't know. No one really knows the severity of what this calf injury was. If he can't escape pressure, then he's in trouble, and it's not going to help this offense anymore. But we've seen guys that put up what Joe Burrow got, at least a dozen touchdown passes, and the Bengals are 1-4 because their defense was just lousy. And the defense, despite the turnovers against the Cowboys, they've got to turn it around. I get it. The pass rush wasn't there. They're really licking their wounds. The same thing could be said for the Raiders. Well, let me get back to this injury report. And let's see here. I had it up. Najee Harris is back after a day of rest, full practice. Damontae Kazee is probably going to be out. DNP with the ankle. I know Tomlin said some of these. Sometimes you still got to go through the participation. He's just like, oh, ruled out. Jaylen Warren, I think they're still going to kind of ease him along. He's limited, but they need him. They need Jaylen Warren out there. More on that in a moment. Minka was limited due to rest. He's a full participant again. Nick Herbig, DNP with the hamstring, will not be playing Sunday, more than likely. Same with the groin, though. For Alex Highsmith, healing, limited. They're probably not going to rush him out there. It's just the Tomlin way. I know that people don't like that, but this guy's been coaching for like 18 years. He's seen it all. He knows how to manage even if it is BS for the line for George Pickens in a load management situation. You got to take care of these guys, or you won't have them for this 17-game season. Michael Pruitt's another guy they got to get out there, limited with the knee. He's a big component, especially with all of the injuries to the offensive line. Cordero Patterson, more than likely not out there again. That's a big factor in the kickoff game, these returns, the dynamic kickoff. Cowboys were just hitting them just perfectly. And you got guys off the practice squad, running backs that are sitting back there as a return guy. They're not going to do that with Patterson. Patterson's a threat. Probably one of these guys that can make the Hall of Fame just based off of special teams play. There's not a whole lot of them, right? We could name them all. Devin Hester or Desmond Howard. That's probably like off the top of my head. Aside from kickers, I'm just talking about kick return guys, coverage guys. Doesn't happen often. TJ Watt got rest, was full practice. Cam Hayward, 2 days of rest. DeMarvin Leal, neck injury. This guy's getting banged up so damn bad. I just feel bad for him. They gave Larry Ogunjobi some rest, but Leal's going to be out again too. And then Pat Freiermuth shows up with a calf, limited here on Thursday. Now the Raiders, they've got a bunch of guys that are on here. The top name on this list for them, Davante Adams, with the hamstring injury. So he's been inactive, the last game or two. And it said, since they lost to the Panthers, they got the floor mopped with them with the Panthers. And that's what gives you optimism for the Steelers to bounce back. I'm not even sure if it's a real bounce back. We don't know what the Colts look like. I think the Colts look different with Joe Flacco. They have enough weapons to attack with. You're playing on the road. Cowboys, I think they're a solid competitive team. I don't think that the Steelers are like a basement team or a fraud here. Okay. But when you take things for granted, these last two shows, going into the Colts game, I said the Steelers 3-0. Should be 4-0 with the Colts, lose by 3. I think they could beat this Cowboys team. End up losing by 3 again. And you look at what the Raiders have or don't, and they've been able to win games. The Raiders were able to surprise the Baltimore Ravens. Week 2, not even week 1. They were able to also beat the Cleveland Browns, so they have the number so far of the AFC North. They've been competing, but they got the floor. Got absolutely mopped by the Broncos last week. Remember the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix? 34-18. They got waxed by the Carolina Panthers with Andy Dalton jumping in for Bryce Young, 36-22. Those two teams put up 36 and 34 points on them. The Ravens didn't. The Browns didn't. The Chargers put up 22. So, as much as I like to take things for granted and tell you that this is going to be an easy game, it never seems to be easy when the Steelers travel to the West Coast. But we shall see. Davante Adams, trade rumors everywhere. He's not coming to Pittsburgh this week. Maybe they'll trade him here Monday after the game's played. Maybe depending on the result of this game. But he's here with an hamstring. And Antonio Pierce, who was the interim coach last year, so first full year as the head coach, hired on as the official position, former player, just tells it like it is. He has the respect of his locker room, and those players play their ass off for this guy. He says Davante Adams, if he's healthy, he's still a Raider, and as long as he's still a Raider, he's going to play. But he's going to be out this weekend. Looks like both of the starting wide receivers for the Raiders. This is why you have some optimism. I don't want to go too far out of order with this, but Max Crosby with his ankle was a DNP, and now all of a sudden you got one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL that's also on the shelf. Christian Wilkins, a defensive tackle for this team, it goes on injured reserve. Jones fracture in his leg. And it's like, holy cow. They might be down Wilkins and Crosby. Now, do the Back to the Future thing where it's like, wait a minute, I've seen this one before. Because the Cowboys were without Micah Parsons. They were without DeMarcus Lawrence last week. And they were still able to compete. Now, the difference is the Cowboys don't have a quarterback that's throwing for 400 yards and multiple touchdowns. I don't think that they have the same. I don't think they have the bodies on the offensive line. They don't have a CeeDee Lamb. They do have the tight ends, though, and the Cowboys were able to attack the Steelers with tight ends. Continuing through this injury report, because this is like almost everybody on each team. I could almost cover all my bases just off the injury report. Divide Diablo with an oblique is a full practice on Wednesday. Tommy Eichenberg is his backup, limited with a hamstring. Those are middle linebackers here on the Raiders defense. They play like a hybrid 4-3 for the most part, usually 2 linebackers, 4 down linemen. Michael Mayer, personal reasons, was rested. He's a backup tight end to starter Brock Bowers, who's like the only healthy star on this offense. Tyreek McAllister, shoulder injury, limited. Jacoby Myers, ankle, a DNP. That's one to look at because Myers is the next guy up after Adams, even though Bowers is the leading receiver on this team, both in receptions and in yards. I think Bowers has 2 or 3 touchdowns on the season. You got the tackles are hurt. Offensive linemen, they might be down as many as 3 starting offensive linemen. Colton Miller is on this list as a DNP, knee and shoulder. Thayer Munford, also the other tackle, knee and ankle, limited. Dylan Parham on the interior guard, Achilles, limited. Jackson Powers Johnson, a guy that we wanted and loved in the draft process. Rookie, center, guard, wherever they want to play him, out of Oregon. DNP with knee, so they don't have the depth there either. If, say, Dylan Parham or someone else can't go. DJ Turner, wide receiver, hamstring. That's 4 wide receivers on their injury list, limited or DNPs. Zamir White, starting running back, groin injury, did not practice. And I kind of glossed over that Trayvon Morig was back, starting safety, the full practice. Trey Taylor, reserve, limited. Those are a lot of dudes and a lot of bodies that are banged up for this Raiders team. I'm going to see if I have a further update sometime throughout the show. We'll see how long I end up going. But wow, just wow. I mean, I don't know like what else I could say when it comes to the Raiders on both sides of the ball. Like the Steelers. See, they ain't like us. Thanks, Tio. Once again. But they are like us. Although Antonio Pierce did name Aiden O'Connell the starting quarterback. I believe that was this morning or last night. If you're watching this, that would have been Wednesday night or Thursday morning. So Pierce comes out and he's benching Gardner Minshew. So O'Connell will get his first start of the 2024 season after Minshew threw 4 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He has a pair of fumbles as well. Just not getting it done. So that veteran goes down to make for the 11th career start, Aiden O'Connell. It was interesting. I'm listening to XM Radio, the NFL channel, and Brian Hoyer, who was with the Raiders last season, and so was Jimmy Garoppolo. They had Aiden O'Connell at that point, and he had some decent things to say about O'Connell. Says that the team will get excited and get rallied around him. This is what Pierce does best. Well, Tomlin gets a lot of guys that are off the street. Usually he could get them and coach them up. Not all of them are good. I'm not going to say that Jonathan Ward or Aaron Champlin or somebody like that's just going to pop off the page against the Raiders. But you just never know. They're going to need some help as well. Very similar. So, Raiders, here's their depth chart and who they could be down. So, Minshew's on the bench for O'Connell, backup quarterback. Steelers are still possibly riding with backup Justin Fields. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Tyreek McAllister, DJ Turner. 4 of the 5 wide receivers are out. Or I'm not going to say out, but potentially could be out, limited, or are going to be playing with injuries. George Pickens sitting on the sideline, limited, maybe due to conduct. Offensive line, Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Thayer Munford, Jackson Powers Johnson. Pittsburgh Steelers just got Isaac Seumalo back, and he didn't look 100% sharp against the Cowboys. Broderick Jones is playing still out of position at right tackle because Troy Fautanu is on IR. Mason McCormick is playing right guard as a rookie, 4th-round pick because James Daniels is on injured reserve. Zach Frazier, center, rookie. And then, of course, Dan Moore was supposed to be replaced by an upgrade in Broderick Jones. Can't do that because Broderick has to play on the right now. And, of course, Nate Herbig, who is playing center, penciled in as the starter on the depth chart to start this season, also on injured reserves. Steelers are licking their wounds all over the place, offensive line as well. Running back, Zamir White. He's out. This is going to make way for Alexander Madison. Amir Abdullah, who's mostly a return specialist. Madison's a veteran runner. What did Madison do last week? Not a whole lot. It was not a pretty game for the Raiders against the Broncos. I hate to benchmark it like that because, it's the you never know league. 5 for 42, 8.4 average for Abdullah. But Madison, 15 carries for 38 yards, 2.5. He couldn't do anything against the Broncos defense. It's very bad. O'Connell, I can't say his name. O'Connell, 10 of 20 for 94 yards and a pick against the Broncos. He comes in for Minshew, who was 12 of 17, but only 137 yards. Got sacked twice. Minshew had been sacked 15 times until he got yanked. O'Connell got sacked once. So they're not getting rid of the ball just enough. Now, Brock Bowers caught 8 passes for 97 yards and a touchdown. Well, this guy's got to look at, but man, the theme I'm going here with this cool shirt is just there's so many. Talking about running backs, the Steelers are down to 2 practice squad guys aside from Najee Harris, and they struggle to run with the ball or run the ball as well behind that offensive line. Patchwork that needs to gel and finally get the same lineup maybe 2 consecutive weeks in a row for an entire game. It has not been that way at all because Spencer Anderson's been flipping all over the place between left and right guard. It shapes up for maybe some sloppy football. The Steelers defense has to get it together against basically this is a team that wasn't considered to be, let's face it, the Raiders were probably being viewed at as one of these teams that's going to be in the running for the top overall pick as one of the worst teams in the National Football League. I think the Carolina Panthers were certainly in that running and looked at the Raiders and said, nope, we're going to embarrass you. Steelers cannot be embarrassed here. They got to come ready to play. They cannot play down to the level of their opponent. That means we're going to see a lot of TJ Watt, but who else is with them? Jeremiah Moon, one of these other guys from the practice squad that's going to get some reps. Alex Highsmith. I very highly doubt they're going to run him out there, even limited. They need him, but you can't expect him, if he's not 100%, to play 100% of the game and maybe even a little more than 50 or 60% of the game. You're going to have to manage that. There's no Nick Herbig. These positions of strength that the Steelers once had at linebacker, outside linebacker, edge rusher, all you got left is TJ Watt. No Nick Herbig, no DeMarvin Leal backing up Alex Highsmith. All 3 gone. Running back, just Najee Harris. No Cordell Patterson, no Jaylen Warren. Maybe if you get Warren back, a 1-2 punch. That will help. The offensive line, like I said, McCormick and Frazier, rookies. Roderick Jones, still young and raw. Sam Malu coming into his first action. The only constant has been Dan Moore Jr. on the left side, playing left tackle. So it's going to be intriguing to watch the Pittsburgh Steelers and see just who steps up, because that pass rush has got to come, and they're going to definitely they're going to game plan around avoiding and limiting TJ Watt, and he's a game wrecker, but who else can step up? Can you get Cam Hayward, Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton? The defensive line, knock on wood, healthy. Secondary, mostly. Beanie Bishop up against Brock Bowers is not a winning proposition, and without DeMonte Casey being hurt, okay, you've got Deshaun Elliott, you've got Minkah Fitzpatrick. Can we send Terrell Edmonds out there to cover tight ends? I know there's been mixed results with that. It worked in the past, but he was also just a tad bit younger, and he was fully, he was a full-time guy. Now he's a part-time guy. We shall see. They're going to need all hands on deck here. Landon Roberts, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson. They were asked if Peyton Wilson could play on the outside. The answer was no. He does not have those skills, maybe. Maybe the Steelers do something hybrid. Maybe they just throw an extra defensive lineman out there. I want to see it. I want to see Cam Hayward and Benton and Ogunjobi with Watt, and maybe even throw another guy out there. They did it a little bit with Loudermilk because they had to against the Cowboys. Or Dean Lowry. He's been kind of sitting there lying in wait. Maybe Montravius Adams along with Benton. And some of the big boys there, but they're not the fastest to get to the quarterback. But when you've got somebody that's inexperienced like O'Connell, maybe just being disruptive is going to be enough. You can't just get chipped away at. We need to see Joey Porter and Dante Jackson do their jobs. I feel like at least they're in a dome. They're not going to be playing in wet or sloppy, slick conditions. I think that, of course, both teams had to play in that. It's not an excuse. It's just the reality of maybe the Cowboys don't play as sloppy and turn the ball over all that many times if they're optimal conditions too. Just something to think about. The ball getting punched out on 2nd and goal from the half-yard line. That happens because it's crap conditions. So the Steelers defense, they gotta like raise the bar again. They gotta get back in the groove. This is the kind of game and the kind of team that they should be able to dominate. They should not be sniffing anything. They shouldn't even get 2 touchdowns out of it. Maybe Dan Carlson kicks some field goals. He's got the range and the distance. He's a solid kicker. But don't give up 4 or 5 field goals. Offense just has to limit turning the ball over. Steelers on offense, George Pickens needs to be out there, needs to be a weapon, needs to be a part of the game plan. Hopefully Pat Freiermuth is healthy and is part of his game plan too. Because who's the wide receiver too? It's funny because Brandon Ayuk, some of these guys who sat out, who weren't there during camp, they were sitting out for, with their contracts and stuff. They're getting slow starts to their season. And then he wasn't doing too hot by himself without Debo Samuel out there or George Kittle, some other guys to draw attention. Freiermuth draws attention away from Pickens and vice versa. You need that. Someone else needs to maybe step up into this other role. We saw Calvin Austin do it for a quick minute, and then there just wasn't anything there in the pass game. You just can't have Fields look the pass and then take off with his feet all the time. That's not winning football. It is winning football if the Steelers could get some chunk plays and yards on the ground against this Raiders defense. Steelers are 3-point favorites heading into this game. Over under 36.5. So nobody thinks that this one's going to be any kind of fireworks. Raiders are 22nd offensively in points scored per game and 28th in points allowed. The Steelers are 26th on offense and 2nd defensively. Steelers are +4 in the takeaway margin. The differential for the Raiders is -7. Only 2 teams worse than the Raiders coughing it up right now. Steelers are 27th throwing the ball and 13th running it, where the Raiders are 15th passing and 30th running. You force O'Connell to pass the ball without Myers and Adams, just pay attention to Brock Bowers. Can Peyton Wilson just follow him around? Add Edmonds out there if you're going to go heavy with the safeties. Don't line him up with Beanie Bishop, please and thank you. Steelers are 17th against the pass and 5th against the run defensively. The Raiders are 16th against the pass. So it's the same as the Steelers. Steelers gave up gobs of yards to the Cowboys, though, over 400. Raiders are 23rd against the run. They're giving up 131 yards per game. Alan Eck is your referee. And, folks, unless you have Sunday ticket, this is the late window game for CBS. If you don't have a 1 o'clock game on your dial with your local rabbit ears, antenna, station, channel, whatever I'm trying to say here, your local networks, is basically only going to get to be seen in parts of California. Not even all of Nevada gets all of Vegas for the games. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Columbus, Ohio, Wisconsin, for whatever reason, up in Green Bay gets it. Tampa Bay, prayers out to them. Hurricane Milton. Seeing a lot of my friends getting hit with that. And then, of course, New Orleans. That's about it. The rest of the country is not getting this game unless you've got Sunday ticket or some other means to get that feed. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to watch or listen wherever you may be. It is just, it's one of those games. There's a lot of games still this weekend, even with the bye weeks starting to kick in. Allegiant Stadium. It's CBS will be carrying this. Ian Eagle and Charles Davis are a good crew. I think they got saddled with a game that could be a little bit ugly. Steelers like to play ugly. They like to win ugly. But the Raiders lead the series 17-15 all time. The Steelers did win the last meeting, which was back in 2023. The Steelers have played the Raiders. This will be their 3rd time in as many years. They won both of the previous matchups, 13-10 on Christmas Eve. The Franco Harris, the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception in Franco, memorialized there, unfortunately passing away just a few days before he could enjoy his moment in the spotlight. And the Steelers, even with Kenny Pickett at quarterback, were able to get it done. If you remember, the pass was to George Pickens. Kenny Pickett had a far better result against the Raiders. Kind of got out. They were hot, and then they were starting to kind of lean back and just they didn't give up or the game or cough or choke or anything like that. but still something to keep in mind. That was an early game last year on September 24th. The Steelers, they lead at home, but when they go on the road, the Raiders are 11-6. Traditionally, Oakland had not been a good place for the Steelers to win games, but Vegas, they already got it kind of in their favor if you're into some of the historical stuff. But these aren't the same two teams. Antonio Pierce was not coaching the Raiders at this time last year. He was the defensive coordinator, but he was not the interim head coach. That was still Josh McDaniels, who was given his marching orders not long after. And, of course, Kenny Pickett versus Jimmy Garoppolo. Now it's going to probably be either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. I don't have a preference. Either or, I think the Steelers are going to be able to maintain the status quo. I think as long as their defense doesn't lay an egg, if they're able to still provide pressure, that means blitzing. Aiden O'Connell, not like Dak Prescott. Tomlin lives in his fears. Joe Flacco, Dak Prescott. Last 2 weeks, let's get the pressure with the stars we have, Cam Hayward and TJ Watt and Highsmith or Herbig or Okeechobee or Benton. Just 4 guys, just the guys on the defensive line. But they've gotten some sacks when some of these guys have broken through. I'd like to see a corner blitz. If you're going to throw Beanie Bishop out there, just let him fly. Let Patrick Queen or Landon Roberts or Peyton Wilson come after. I don't think O'Connell's going to be able to diagnose where the open guy is as quickly as a Flacco or as quickly as a Dak Prescott. And that's where Tomlin was living in his fears. You've got decent corners. I think they're going to be able to hold up Jackson and Porter. I know there's been some talk said, Rush was released, Trice got hurt, and that the Steelers, maybe they're playing these different schemes and sub packages because they're a little shorthanded there. Potentially. James Pierre ended up coming in. Miles Killebrew ended up coming in during the Cowboys game. So we shall see, folks. Anytime I feel confident, the last 2 weeks I've felt confident, and I have been let down. And I'm not looking to be let down anymore. I'm ready to see the Steelers get back on track. And as I say this, we have the full injury report for the Raiders. So stick around, 2%ers. We're not out of here just yet. Let's roll through this real quickly. Back on the screen. Adams, DMP. Crosby, a DMP. Not looking good for Crosby to be out there. I think Crosby has actually missed a game. He was inactive, not last game, but the game before. So this is something that's been a nagging or recurring injury. Divine Diablo. Oh, I forgot about Robert Spillane. So he pairs up here too. He's one of the inside linebackers. He's leading the league right now in tackles. He has 54 combined tackles, and he's had at least 10 in every game he's played so far this year, all 5. So keep an eye out. Remember Robert Spillane? He had a pick against the Raiders. He's back in Lamar Jackson's pockets again. Tommy Eichenberg was downgraded to did not practice. McAllister, wide receiver, full practice. Jacoby Myers, not looking good either as a DMP. Colton Miller upgraded to limited. Trayvon Morrig, same status as full practice. Still limited is Munford and Parham, 2 of the starting offensive linemen. Jackson Powers Johnson, a DMP. D. Camarian Richardson, a corner, limited with the hamstring. DJ Turner, limited still. Zamir White is another DMP. And then Trey Taylor, safety, full practice. So there you go. Most of the stars, Adams, Crosby. Mayer is still out for personal reasons. Let's see here. Myers and Zamir White, all DMPs. This should be in the Steelers' favor, just even on paper. I know the NFL doesn't operate well on paper, but if this Steelers team goes to 3-3 after this one, where the Raiders, they've had the AFC North's number, but this is the one that got to get turned around. Steelers need a little bit of confidence. I actually would not mind seeing Russell Wilson get loose. These are going to be optimal conditions if he's able to move around. This is going to be a team that's maybe they got some young, hungry guys that might surprise, but these aren't veteran players. He's not going to have to worry about Max Crosby or Christian Wilkins. He's not going to have to worry about either one of them. next week, you have a very dysfunctional Jets team coming in for primetime in Aaron Rodgers. We don't know if that's going to be a shootout or if Rodgers is going to throw 3 picks. I don't know what's going on with that team. Robert Salah is gone. Defensive coordinator is taking over as their interim coach. So I don't know. Do I want Wilson to jump out and be the starter right away for that particular game? It's tough. That's why I don't get paid the same big bucks that Mike Tomlin does. Folks, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to leave a rating and review wherever you're watching or listening from. Don't forget you can watch our show on YouTube. You can also watch us now on Spotify. We have an audio Spotify feed and a video Spotify feed, so be sure to subscribe to both of those. And of course, we're available anywhere else you could listen to audio podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and just name it. It's out there. Pandora, iHeart, blah, 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 all of those. And we also have some reels and some shorts and TikToks and whatever else. Pretty much, don't wherever you like to watch those, subscribe there as well. We appreciate you. My name is Joe Kuzma. Here we go, Steelers. Sunday, 4:05 Eastern at the Las Vegas Raiders. Hoping for the best. Until next time, as we always do, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.